Hey guys, Shawn here from the Ollin group. I just want to come at you live here. It's been a few weeks, and I know the intention was to get back on here weekly if I could. Let's just put it this way: I'll be on here regularly. Normally on a Monday. Today's Tuesday, obviously, and for those who are watching live, for those who are watching the recording, it's not the regular day here. But I do want to thank you for being here. If you do catch us live, or if you catch a recording, if you are here live, say hi. Give me a thumbs up, whatever. I wanted to come at you today because of some pretty cool things that have happened the last couple of days. If you've kind of been following any of my posts or emails lately, I talked about kind of my own difficulties that I've gone through in terms of the separation, in terms of the struggles I've had in the past with depression and anxiety, and how they're related presently. And it's interesting. I get to help people every day. Session after session, creating change, creating breakthroughs, working with anxiety, working with depression, working with relationships, working with finances, income, etc., business. And here I am being challenged in the very same areas, funny enough. And so I posted a very heartfelt, very real post. Like I say, kind of when the shit hits the fan, it forces you to really, really reflect. Anyway, going through all these things, still showing up for clients, having to look deeper than I ever have, and I realized, a couple things. Like I said, based on the coach training that I was doing, to really, really be genuine, that's important to me. To come across as very, very authentic, very real, no hiding anything, no pretenses. And at the same time, to kind of show the way, in terms of transformation, to be an example of what that means, to go through, dark places, to go through challenges, struggles, and come out the other side. And that's what this whole process has kind of been doing for me. It was kind of that whole idea that life, or God, or consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, will nudge you along and nudge you along and nudge you along. And most of us tend to ignore those nudges. And what happens is those nudges, they get bigger and bigger and bigger after a while, and eventually we get hit over the head with a 2x4, and that's kind of what happened to me. And gone through some very low points recently, and very high too. Some pretty amazing things have happened, and that's kind of why I'm on here tonight, because yesterday and today I had two very, very amazing things happen. As I'm one I already kind of touched on. I had a beautiful conversation with my separated wife, Kelly, who's a beautiful, beautiful person, by the way, and incredibly gifted at what she does. And she supported me in a way that she has many times over, but it was just the timing of it was perfect. And she helped me realize something very, very important that I'll get to in a minute. And then today, an old friend, a fellow coach, he kind of reached out to me and offered support, and we got on the phone. And a wonderful conversation. It was really cool to catch up, actually, after a number of years. But it kind of led me to the same sorts of realizations in a different way as well. So two paths to the same thing. And so that's what I want to share with you guys today. Because I've talked about vision lately. I've talked about passions, goal setting, actions, etc. And that's all important. But really, you could have the best vision. You could lay down your goals, your action plan, your time frame, SMART goals. I teach on those if you're a client or have been. But in the end, it doesn't really mean shit if you fall into what I found myself falling into. And I think it's very, very common for pretty much all of us at different points. Now, before I kind of share what that is, a little caveat, or a little, what's what I'm looking for? little precaution is that in order to understand this and to apply it, you have to have some level of self-awareness. So somebody who always kind of says, oh, everything's fine, everything's good, probably hasn't done a lot of self-reflection. And the trap, or at least where people see it as a trap at first, as we start to get into self-reflection, we become more self-aware. We start to see things that we really wish we didn't see. So that's kind of the first step. And the second step is we start to see what's actually stopping us from either accomplishing what we want or being fully capable of, being there for it, being present for it, appreciating it, being in gratitude for it. So one of two things happen. Either people will continue to struggle in certain areas or many areas, or maybe they'll hit their goals and they'll set goal after goal after goal after goal after goal after goal, and they're all hollow in the end. On the surface, it seems good. Lots of, the person might be confident, successful, well-liked, and I've seen this time and time again. Inside, as they develop self-awareness, they realize there's something that's missing, something that's not quite there. So either this topic, what I want to get into, will either keep you in struggle in some area or many areas, or maybe all areas, or it'll just keep you from being truly fulfilled. And what's the point of life unless you're going to be fulfilled? It's kind of like Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is still failure. And one way to look at this, what I want to share, is that quote that I have on the side there in the description. Through pride, we are ever deceiving ourselves. But deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still small voice says to us, something is out of tune. And it's from Carl Jung, one of my favorite psychologists. So again, if you're here live, if you're watching the replay, please feel free to comment, ask questions, whatever it might be. If you've been following me for a while, I really appreciate that. I like engagement. Then I can kind of, work to who's watching. But anyway, the number one thing, make sure you have a pen. The number one thing that stops you from having what you want, let me tell you this, it's not the circumstance, as much as it might seem that way. It's not the circumstance. It's not the market, if you're a realtor. It's not the industry you're in. It's not the job you're in, the career you're in, or even the people you're with. It's not your spouse. It's not your kids. It's not your friends or lack thereof. It'd be simple to say, people will say to me, well, yeah, the number one thing that's stopping me is me. I need to get out of the way. What does that mean? So here's what I want to do. Actually, no, sorry, before I do this. So number one thing stopping you is, and this is what was stopping me, this is what I realized with Kelly's help and with my friend's help today. The number one thing stopping you is the narrative, which is largely unconscious, even if you're consciously telling it, because we get sucked into it and we believe it. So it's a narrative that we're telling ourselves about our situation, about life, about ourselves, whatever it might be. And how do we know we're telling a narrative, or more importantly, how do we know that we're stuck in a narrative? Very simply, if you're struggling in any area, there's a narrative. So if you're struggling with a result, if you're struggling with a behavioral pattern, if you're struggling with an emotional pattern, there's a narrative attached to it. And the secret, the key, is finding that narrative and being able to dissect it and see through it and stop believing in it. Easier said than done. Because if it was easy, you would have already done it and you wouldn't be struggling. How do I know? From experience and from what I've done with people. So in terms of results, maybe you're not hitting the sales you want. That'd be an example. Or, I don't know, maybe not, maybe you're going through a separation. Maybe you don't have the relationship you want. Maybe you're stuck in procrastination. Maybe you're stuck in anxiety or depression. Maybe you're fearful of rejection. Maybe it's a self-worth thing. Maybe it's a lack of finances, lack of ideas, lack of creativity, lack of fun, lack of balance. Whatever your struggle is, there is a narrative attached to it. So the good news is, once you see that narrative, number one, once you see it, then you have an opportunity to create change, an opportunity to move through it, to release it, to heal it, to transform it, whatever needs to happen, to get to the other side, to have the result that you want. So today's just a short video, but what I want to do is take you through a very simple exercise. It's to be like step 1 in helping you see it, and step 2 in helping you begin to understand it. Will it transform it? No, but it's a starting point. There's more to it if you really want to transform it. So here's what I want you to do with your pen. You grab your pen. Think of a situation or a circumstance or a relationship, or maybe a behavior or an emotional pattern that you're struggling with, that you haven't made progress in, or even just something that hasn't been as fulfilling as you'd like it to be. So think of an area that, I'll use that word, think of an area that you're struggling with. And I want you to write that down. This is step 1. Write that down in as much detail as possible. You can pause the video if you're watching a recording. If you're watching us live, you can come back to this. But step 1 is to write down whatever situation, whatever circumstance is that you're struggling with. And I want you to include how you feel about it, all the emotions, all the feelings, any judgments you notice that you might have about yourself, about the other person, about the situation, any excuses you might notice that you're making, any places of blame or grievance. If you're not sure about how to find these, that's where I come in and I can help you. Anyway, write it all down. The more detail, the better. It might take you a paragraph or a page or whatever. Write it all down. And then I've got 3 questions that you can ask. 3 questions you can ask of yourself after you have this written down. Really, really important to write it down in detail, because otherwise you won't be able to see it to the same degree. Again, if you think about things, it's just like writing out a goal. If you think about it, that's only a small percentage of the overall picture. Where the rubber hits the road is when you put pen to paper. Okay, so write it out as much detail as possible. Any complaints, any justifications, anything in there, write it all out. Question number 1. And you've heard me ask this before, but this is in relation to the narrative, and this takes you on to the next step, should you wish to go there. So question number 1. In this situation, or in this circumstance, what am I focused on? What's my focus? In other words, not what am I doing, because you might be doing all the right things and still not getting the result you want. So it's not what am I doing, what am I focused on? In other words, where is my attention internally? Is my attention on what's not working, for instance? Is my attention on not being good enough? Is my attention on what happened in the past or what didn't happen in the past? What I did do or didn't do? Is my attention on what could go wrong in the future? So attention is awareness, is focus. So what am I focused on? It's question 1. Question 2. Once you can uncover your focus, your internal point of reference, okay. Question number 2 is, what meaning am I creating in this situation? If you get this right, this starts to reveal the narrative. So by meaning, I'll give you an example. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say you have, you're struggling to make a sale. Okay, so you're struggling to make a sale. It hasn't come together yet. You're doing all the right things. So you write about all that. Maybe you feel frustrated, so you write about that. You feel angry or fearful. You write about all that. And then you ask yourself, well, what is my focus? And maybe the focus has been on, what's not presently happening. So not having that sale. You might smile, you might do all the right things, but your focus is on that lack of a sale. So then you go on to question 2. What meaning am I creating? The meaning might be something as simple as it's not going to work or it's not working. So what am I focused on? What meaning am I creating? And if you're watching this live, give me a thumbs up if you understand that. Again, if you're watching a recording on Facebook, on YouTube, you can comment as well. I'll certainly get back to you if you do. Finally, the third question. Once we can see the focus, once we can understand the meaning, we're starting to see some of the narrative here. Not all. A little caveat, it won't be all the narrative, but it'll be some of it. The third part you can ask is, what paths of action are available to me presently? What paths of action? There might be 2, there might be a dozen. But list them all out. So what paths of action are available to me presently? Now maybe you list a dozen, let's say, and you need to pursue all dozen to create change. Or maybe you list 5 or 6 and you choose 1 or 2 that feel more plausible, that feel, for lack of a better word, that feel truer, more authentic, feel that kind of like the path of least resistance. Maybe it requires a lot of effort, but they make the most sense. So maybe you pursue 1 path, maybe you pursue all 20 paths. But what paths of action are presently available to me? Now that may lead to another path in the future, but these 3 questions, what am I focused on? What meaning am I creating? What paths of action are available to me? Will begin to show you the narrative and what you can do to move through it. This is all what I call step 1. Okay, and that's where I'm going to leave the video for you because it's a really, really good starting point. If you'd like some help going through that, if you understand that you're struggling, you've tried some of these things before, maybe you understand focus, maybe you understand meaning, although it usually takes practice in my experience. And this is what I found for myself, because I was really, really stuck in a couple particular narratives, and Kelly and this friend today helped me see that. So even though I understand this and I work with this every day, I understand how to create transformation, I was stuck. And I've been stuck in this narrative. And so as my gift to you, whether you're a past client, current client, prospective client, or you're just following my page, whatever, is I want to help you any place that you're struggling. I can guarantee there's a narrative. So the sooner you can see it, the sooner you can transform it. And this is step 1. What am I focused on? What meaning am I creating? And what paths of action are available to me? If you want to help with step 2 to really start to move through it, that's where I come in. Now, yesterday in my post, I talked about how I've lowered the prices, and it was kind of pointed out to me that, well, to be honest, it kind of looks a little desperate, and it's not really the intention behind it. The real intention is because going through what I've gone through, and having helped people over the past 9 years, I guess, 8 years, going on 9, of having a practice. I've helped a lot of people in a lot of different ways, whether it's a financial goal, an emotional one, a spiritual one, a relationship one, you name it. And I've also seen where a lot of people wanted to, were ready to, but maybe couldn't afford to get started. Okay, so what I decided to do, rather than running specials, which I'll still do from time to time, but not anywhere near as frequently. The next one won't be until next Christmas. So rather than doing that, I thought, you know what? For the basic package, I'm just going to reduce the basic, which is the bronze package. I'm just going to reduce the price to make it more affordable for people. It's 3 months, 6 sessions, first 3 workbooks, and basically it's a really good launch point where you can create a foundation for yourself. Is very affordable for most people, maybe not for everybody. But if you would like some help, I've included a link so you can check out the different packages. If you've never worked with me before, you can ask for what I call a free discovery coaching session. It's a 60-minute session geared to you, what you want, what your challenge is, and at least the next step for you personally, whatever that is. So even if we didn't work together, you walk away with someone you can use. Okay. Anyway, you can check it all out in the description. I'm here for you if you want. And what I want to really say is this whole process that I've gone through, as difficult as it has been in so many ways, has also been very, and will continue to be, I'm sure, very liberating, very insightful, very enlightening. And it allows me to actually be of greater service to you, to any of my clients or anybody watching these videos. So anyway, that's your assignment with around the narrative. If you want some help, I'm here. Just reach out to me via email or phone, or you can click emails on there. And you can request a package. You can request a discovery coaching session. If you have somebody that would benefit from watching these videos and learning these strategies and methodologies, please feel free to share them. Any questions, any disagreements, any insights, please feel free to post. I'm happy to respond as well. So with that, you guys, it's Shawn K. Carpenter from the Ollin Group. Happy to see you, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Cheers.